Okay, here's my intro. Let me just erase that right there and go simple. My name. A-Z. No, I don't like that. A-Z-I-Z-A-K-I-B-I-B-I.
Accordingly. So let's take a personal relationship, for instance. When I first escaped my father, of course, I was afraid that everyone was going to look at me as a sexual object, because that's what my father told me. That's what I knew. That's what he indoctrinated in me growing up. So yeah, I was very shy. I was afraid. I didn't know how to talk to people. But then I realized, well, you know what? I could either continue to live my life from this illusion. Well, at the time I probably didn't know it was an illusion, but through my father's eyes, essentially. I could continue to live my life through my father's eyes, or I could completely try to wipe away what he taught me and just experiment and see for myself if what he said was true. And I just started talking to people. Yes, I was nervous, but I just started talking. And I think that I was put in positions where I was forced to talk, because in order to get my children back, I had to get them birth certificates and social security numbers. I don't know if I clarified, my father delivered my children at home. So I had to get birth certificates and social security numbers. Now, the state of New Jersey had no idea how to direct me in doing that, because they had never seen a case like mine. So I had to figure it out myself. And that forced me to open my mouth, to talk, to ask questions, to go to different departments and just be like, well, this is my situation, how do I get through this? And I was able to help the state of New Jersey Vital Statistics develop a way to then do delayed birth reports. So in my own journey of trying to discover things, I actually helped on a broader scale. And that is what contributes to my healing, because I have seen the results. It's scary. I'm not going to deny that. It is scary trying something new. I say change is not made in comfort zones. But in knowing that, then I will go ahead and say, well, you know what? The fear that I feel, and the possible shame that I feel, and the ridicule that I may receive, and the embarrassment that is kind of bubble up inside of my stomach, all of those are only feelings. The results of ignoring those and doing the action could be much better. It could be totally worth it. And from my experience, it has been. It has been completely worth it. So that, of course, led some satisfaction. That builds my confidence, particularly with spirituality. I do have a very strong relationship with my Creator. I am God-loving. I don't like to say God-fearing, but I am God-loving because, you know, we have this power of choice and autonomy, and when you have it taken away from you, you realize how important and how much of a blessing and a privilege it is, especially when you go into other cultures and women can't drive, or you don't have the freedom of speech. So having all of those things taken away from me and then receiving them, I really appreciate the choice that we as human beings have, and I try not to waste those. I try not to waste those choices. Yes, as far as being a spiritual being, having a human experience, meditation is a huge part of my life. And studying not only this esoteric aspect of it, but also the scientific and the biological benefits that meditation has. And there is a lot more evidence that meditation does help in emotional recovery and emotional healing. So I utilize that. Narrative therapy is a huge one. And I'm also, if you don't know, narrative therapy is essentially what I'm doing here today, sharing stories that you can relate to and you can pull lessons from and be encouraged by. And that is an actual form of therapy. Usually in group therapy it's utilized. Through my nonprofit organization, helping other people helps me heal, because I am taking something horrible that happened to me and completely turning it into something else, which is something positive. And that's pretty much it. Oh, I'm also in regular, I guess you can call it regular therapy, one-on-one therapy. My daughter always tells me my answers are very long. So, anyone else?
I'm surviving myself at 7. I was molested by my older brother.
Wow.
And it has been a long journey. I only spoke about it when I was 26. And I mean, I'm so blown away, and you give me so much hope when you share that.
Yeah.
Because when I do listen to you on YouTube, and the first time I wasn't sure what to expect.
Okay.
But you were just so much, so
thank
much positive energy.
Thank
do you think that like it would help with your the production of the, I'm not sure exactly what the specific work was with.
Okay, so.
Do you think that helped your work?
No. Wait, okay, then let me make sure I understand your question. Are you asking me if my work with my father in his music production company,
Right, yes.
if that has helped, during the coping or during the healing?
During the coping, like.
During the coping.
Yes.
Yes, I'm going to say yes because I'm a chef. I've been cooking professionally for about 20 years now. And it was encouraged and started by my father because he was a health nut. And we were raised vegetarian, and he required me as the oldest to learn how to feed the family, essentially. I did all of the cooking once I became of age, and I taught myself. And it was a form of therapy. It was an escape for me. And it didn't matter. I could be on my feet cooking for the family for 6 hours, and that was my happiest time. Even if I had to clean the kitchen. But so then when he started directing music videos, so for those who don't know, my father's most well-known work is Killing Me Softly by the Fugees, but he's also worked with Queen Latifah. Lauryn Hill is a member of the Fugees. Quale, different hip hop artists in the 90s. And he did not have a production, his production company was his family. So my brother did all the editing and special effects. I did the catering and the office management. My mom was the producer. So it was a family business. And since I did all the catering, that was just more practice for me for cooking. So yeah, that was a part of my coping. And at the same time, there was another dynamic because, if you have been on my TikTok, I talk a lot about his behaviors, dealing with his kind of narcissistic personality and the fact that he was successful, how he used that to justify him abusing his family. And I continue to cook now. Yeah, cooking is definitely as well. You know what it is? I love to feed people. That satisfaction that comes along with taking your energy and your skills and creating something that someone really enjoys. And I think food is such a personal relationship, I made something for you and you're putting it in your body, so. So we do like cooking lives on TikTok and on YouTube, and I do cooking videos and stuff, so that has definitely contributed. Yeah. Anyone else? Oh, who did I? Oh,
I have.
Oh, okay.
My next question is, have you forgiven your mother for not being there to protect you? And have you found it in your heart to have your children have a relationship with her and not take it as a negative going forward since they're adults now?
Okay, so I'll answer the first question first.
Okay.
I have forgiven my mother. Yes, and sure, I have forgiven my mother, but it definitely took longer for me to forgive her than it did for my father. And I think so the act of forgiveness can be very complicated to some people, and I think a lot of people don't realize that you don't only forgive one time. People expect that you forgive and then that's it. No, you have to forgive. You might have to keep forgiving. You may be reminded of some things. You just have to forgive over again. And I always put it akin to a child. as children, we are raised by our parents, and our parents punish us, and they do things that we deem unfair, but that doesn't really change our love for them. So that really is a child forgiving their parent and continuing to love them in spite of the things that they may feel was done to them unjustly. So I'm still connected to that feeling, and I think I have a different perspective or I don't know, relationship with forgiveness, because I am still connected to my inner child so strongly. But yeah, once we escaped my dad, and in an effort to build a relationship that I thought was normal with my mom, I did have to come to a conscious decision to forgive her. And it was a conversation. It was a conversation that we had, and I told her that I forgave her. And I understood that she was also an abused woman. And though, yeah, she could have made better choices, and I didn't agree with her choices, but I could understand why she made some of the choices that she did. Hold on, I'm trying to remember the other question. The second part of your question.
The relationship that your children have with her.
So they had a pretty close relationship when they were children. Well, after I got them back from foster care, they did. But over time now, as they have gotten older, I think they became more aware. Their eyes have been open to the decisions that she made. And also I realized she has not grown as much as I thought she had, because then we would still come to particularly dealing with men. I mean, there was a point where she told me that I stole her husband because she couldn't compete with me because I was a child and he was attracted to children. So needless to say, our relationship, me growing up, was tumultuous. And I started seeing her having this very competitive, like we would go to church, we would go to parties, and there was always this kind of competition and underhanded, backhanded compliments. Or one time she came up to me and she says, she was talking to a guy and she says, "Aziza, don't take him, please." And I was like, wait, what? Why? Okay. So I then started seeing that she clearly had not come as far along in her healing journey as I thought she did. And it started manifesting in other areas of our relationship, and it definitely started affecting my children. So at this point, I love her from afar. We are not interacting at all, because the interaction just became more and more toxic, and she wasn't getting it. So, but as far as what they want to do now that they're adults, I leave that to them. They can make their own decisions if they want to interact with her, and if they don't, I understand. So,
thank you.
Anyone else? No one wants to know if I got married? If I got a name, if I got a boo. Okay, well, I'll tell you anyway. So I did get married. I got married in my 30s. No, maybe I was 29, late 20s, early 30s. Found a man, completely fell in love with him. We got married, had a baby, but we are now divorced. He slept with two of my sisters, and I think that definitely, well, on my sister's part, I have forgiven them, but it is with an understanding that the lifestyle that we came from. So, I think that they still have a lot of healing themselves in that respect, dealing with men and other things, but it is what it is. It is what it is. But I am very social, I'm outgoing, I love meeting people, and I just hope that my experience, I can share my experiences to help others, and it would hopefully change a lot of the perspectives that the world has when it comes to looking at survivors and also at abusers, so we can just stop this stuff from happening. So, go ahead.
What motivates you, and how do you stay motivated?
Let's see. I think just my fervor for enjoying life. One, that definitely motivates me. I'm very creative as well. So outside of doing stuff with the nonprofit, I also work for the president of the Essex County Board of Commissioners. I manage his social media and online presence, so that's like a creative outlet for me. I write scripts, I write books, I dance. So I think just the enjoyment of life, wanting to enjoy life and be free is definitely a motivator for me. And then also creating a life that my kids can enjoy as well, because they have been with me through a lot of struggle. And I'm just very determined. This might be the first time y'all hearing this. I'm just very determined to, provide experiences, whether it be seeing the world and just seeing the U.S. alone, but also traveling and just having those life experiences for the time that we are here to enjoy it. I want to provide them with that, and also provide me with that too. So.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Yeah, you're welcome.
What advice would you give to a young adult, a child, or any age that is having a tumultuous relationship with other family members or a parent, for example? One. Wow, how did I jump to two? One. We are all individuals. We're all individuals living our own path, here for our own reasons, with our own purpose to fulfill. So as an individual, I think it's important that you don't take another person's experience and how they respond and react too personally. I mean, you can't, someone that you love, so of course you're going to take it into consideration and it's going to affect you. But if you keep in mind that they are on their own journey, you are on your own journey, and don't internalize what they do so much. I mean, I've had to do that with even surviving what I went through with my father. I could get lost in the idea of, well, why did he do this to me? Was he abused in the past? Why did he target me? Why does he want to hurt me? But when it comes down to it, the why doesn't really mean anything, because it's really about the impact and the results. So if I have focused on the idea that he made his decisions, and while it did impact me negatively, he has nothing to do with my healing. He has nothing to do with how I respond to the decisions that he made. So I think anyone going through issues within their family, you have to allow your family member or the person that you care about to go through their process, and just don't take it so personally. One thing I do always say is that God didn't allow us to choose our family for a reason. Sometimes the people born to your family are probably not necessarily the people that you would necessarily like. And I am very happy for those who have amazing relationships with their brothers and sisters and cousins and aunts and uncles. But some of my relationships have been kind of like, okay, you know what? You are a whole different being, aren't you? Aside from that, I always say your success is really the loudest horn you could blow. And no one is going to be concerned about you as much as you should be concerned about you. So then just focus on yourself, focus on your goals, focus on developing yourself mentally and emotionally. And when it comes down to it, the positivity that you create can only draw other positivity. So, sure. Do you keep in touch with your extended family, and do they know what happened?
Yes, well, I am on television, so everybody knows what happened. And I keep in touch with my grandmother. My great grandmother passed away. My grandmother, who is my mom's mom, I remember there was this room, this back room. So we lived in my grandmother's house. It's a huge house in Paterson, New Jersey, and it was what was considered a mother-daughter house. So there's a side that is like for a small apartment, and then it's connected to a huge house. We lived in the small apartment, and what connected this apartment was this hallway. And oftentimes that's where my father would take me to molest me, because it was in the back of my parents' bedroom. And I would hear my grandmother sing. I would hear my grandmother singing gospel music. And when my father was doing things to me that I did not want him to do, I would focus on her singing. I would focus on her singing, and it would help get me through that time. So I think as a child, and of course, you know, she was grandma, and she's an old Jamaican woman. She taught me how to make fried dumplings, and apparently she suspected that I was being abused and had contacted DIFUS at one point when I was 9. But then DIFUS came and interviewed me and my mom and my dad, and they didn't find enough evidence to move along with the case. So, but if there was anybody that I could have told, and I think my father knew this, because then not long after he moved us away and we wasn't allowed to talk to my grandmother again. So it was actually my grandmother and my aunt that my children ended up being fostered by for the last part of their time in foster care. So it was something how it came full circle, because they didn't know that I had children. And when they found out, was in the process of them being taken by DIFUS, well, now known as DCPNP. So it was just something that they ended up being there, and then I was able to reconnect with my family on that side. So that's who I communicate with. As far as my dad's family, some people in Alabama, he's African American, and we are a mix of Scottish, Irish, Black, and Indian on his side. And there is a huge family down south, but I've not interacted with them at all. A couple of cousins contact me on Facebook. You know, when stuff came out in the news, they reached out, but nothing much. We don't really interact. I do have a cousin in Atlanta that I have seen, and we keep communication open. And I do that mostly for my children, because the fact that my children are also my brothers and sisters, normally you have a woman and a man from a family come together, that expands their family. But then of course, my children only technically have my family. So that's why I try to reach out and hopefully build more relationships with some of the family members who are supportive. A lot of them, especially my grandmother on my dad's side, she came to court when I testified against my father, and she says to me, well, only God knows if you're telling the truth. So no, we don't really have much of a relationship. So yeah, so that's it.
Any other questions? We're on the last 5 minutes, so whoever wants to ask one more question. If not, we can start wrapping up now.
How did you react to that? Oh, I'm sorry.
No.
How did you react to someone saying that about telling the truth that God only knows?
Actually, I said to her, so I responded, and I said to her, okay, so I'm gonna tell you, so my reaction was, oh. And then I said, well, yes, Grandma, God does know, and that's why we're here. So, yeah, that was it.
I was just saying thank you for sharing your experiences.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Let's make sure you thank Taylor. But we are based in East Orange, and it's actually him.
People would think he's attractive, but he's not.
And if anybody has, I know there's a lot of young people here, but if you have children or you know someone that has children, that's a magnet.
Oh, thank you.
With important phone numbers. Yeah. Well, let's see, Thank you.
You actually look like an 80s video. Like a guy in the 80s trying to do what's his name? Okay, I guess I'll stop this.